Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and I'm going to be going over the dual wield stance. So this is my guide for the dual wield stance. And so I've done a number of these guides already, the single-bladed and the double-bladed, notably. And so basically it'll be the same as them. We're going to go over strengths and weaknesses of this stance, what playstyle it best supports. We'll go over the best perks to pair with it, the different skills that make up the important aspects of this combat, and all that sort of stuff. So let's just dive on in and get to it. So the first thing to think about with the dual wield stance, or to know about it, is that it's unlocked early on. So much like the other two stances we've already covered, this one is early in the game, this one being the third one. You actually get this one during your fight with the ninth sister on Coruscant. So still during the very first, what I would consider level of the game, you will have access to this stance. So you should have it for the whole game. Best thing about this stance is how quickly you can deplete enemy stamina. So it's a very aggressive stance, I find. It's very offensive. It has defensive capabilities, which is what makes it one of the overall best stances to use in the game. But a big thing about it is with the aggressive playstyle, you can really quickly drain most enemies' stamina with this one. So that's probably what I would call its biggest strength. It's also the best stance for parrying and blocking. So like I said, it's a very aggressive offensive stance, but it doesn't mean you have to be a glass cannon. This one is very effective at blocking and parrying. It's actually really easy, even on Jedi Grandmaster, just because you can do it mid-combo, and also you have two lightsabers working independently of each other, so at any given time, you're very close to whatever you need to parry. So I just find it to be the best stance and easiest stance for blocking and parrying, as well as quickly depleting your enemy's stamina. The other nice thing about it is that the force attack that you can use is kind of an auto parry, which is not only fun to use and makes you look super badass, but it can be very effective against enemy types that are more difficult to predict. So that's a fun one as well. There are two cons that I have against this one. The first one is that it has the least block stamina, so every different stance will have a different amount of block stamina that you have for just holding blocks and being able to block your enemies. The dual wielding stance has the lowest amount of that, so you'll find yourself quickly being backed into a corner if you're not parrying or just avoiding strikes. If you're depending on a static block, you will run out of it faster with this stance than any other stance. The other con is that it actually has, it's also one of the weakest against large groups, and now I know a lot of people will use this as their backup stance to like the single saber or something like that, and they'll switch to it for groups, but it's actually worse against groups than the single saber stance is. It's partially because of the fact that you have that lower block stamina, but it's, you know, basically just the fact that it was designed to be a very offensive stance, and it's very good in a duel, but it's very bad against groups. So those are kind of the surface level pros and cons to this stance that I wanted to talk about. I find that it works rather well if you're going for either a Jedi or a Sith or even a Grey Jedi build, kind of an Ahsoka Tano type thing, once she's no longer a Jedi, basically. That type of playstyle, I think, works really well with the dual wield build, which makes sense considering it's modeled after Ahsoka. As far as the skill tree goes, there are 8 different skills that you can unlock, and like I always say in these videos, I'm not really going to say, oh, you should get this one and not this one, and oh, don't waste your points on this one. If you're going to focus your main combat style on dual wielding, then I obviously recommend getting them all, because all of them do make the form better. So the first one you can get is called the backstep slash. This is one where you hold left bumper and then press X to attack and leap backwards, creating distance from your target. This one's nice because, like I said, you don't have a lot of block stamina, so if you need to back out of it, this one will help you quickly back out of it. And so just to demonstrate, we're holding our left bumper, and now we're going to tap X, and we get that forward lunge attack and leap back. So we are able to deal damage and then get out of it quickly before taking any damage. Our next one here is Uncoiled Strikes. It says delay X input to perform a flurry of quick targeted swings. And then after that we have Serpent's Bite, so hold X through the flurry to execute a strong final overhead swing. So if we're doing our flurry, it'll depend how much we want to do. So if you, instead of just mashing through it like the regular way, if you do the first one and then delay it a bit and then do the second one, you dash forward and do that flurry of swings, which is quite nice. So that's that first one we looked at. And then the second one is just a add-on to that one. So if we do that delay, so we do the first attack and then we delay and do the second one and then hold X, we end it with that powerful ground attack. So it's one of the combos for this style that is just incredibly effective. Then up to the other side, we have focused parry, so perform a spinning strike on releasing Y. So that one can be very, very useful. And we have precision release, so release Y right as an enemy hits to perform an even more devastating follow-up attack and stagger near my enemy. So both of those ones are, like I said, they play well into parrying. So with the first one, after you've parried, if you press Y, you perform a spinning attack that does a lot of damage. And with this one, precision release, if you parry and then release Y right as the enemy hits, it does an even more powerful attack. So like I said, the dual wield build is very, very good for aggressive, fast attacks where you're just battering your enemy. But if you learn how to parry very effectively, it becomes almost unbeatable. It's a ridiculously good stance. We have split reflection with this one, so press LB right before blaster bolt hits to split the incoming bolt and reflect it at an additional target. So this one's nice against groups of like battle droids or whatever, because that way when you deflect a bolt back, it'll not only go back and kill the one that you hit, or at least damage the one that shot it at you, but it'll also split and hit another enemy. So it's useful in groups. We have twin vipers, so hold LB and Y, then press Y to throw the second blade at a target to double up, and I'll show you that one. But basically it's just throwing attack, but we can obviously now throw both lightsabers because we're using two. And then dancing blades, hold LB and Y to throw both lightsabers that bounce between multiple targets. So just to show you what throwing it looks like, we're holding our left bumper, so we tap Y and it just throws the one. If we tap it twice, we throw both. And if we charge it up and hold it, we get those strong attacks, you know, that really do a lot of damage as they get thrown out. So it's very, very versatile. So that's the skill tree for dual wielding. As far as complementary stances, because like I said, or like I always say, you get two stances, and some of them work better together than others. If your primary one is dual wielding, your secondary should either be double bladed, which is what I used here, and it's my personal favorite combo, or the blaster combo. And so for double bladed, the reason being, basically a couple things. For one thing, you get the smooth transition because both styles have a nice, fast, fluid system of fighting, and you can very quickly change between them without really missing a beat. So that's one of the reasons why I definitely like pairing them together. For another thing, you have no weaknesses then, so the dual wield stance works really, really well against single opponents, or really up to 3 opponents at a time. After that, you start getting into problems, so if you switch over to your dual bladed or your double bladed, that makes up the difference. So then if you're in groups of 3 or more, I just switch over to the double bladed, so you have no weaknesses there. So really, like I said, as a stance combo, I personally think dual wielding and double bladed is the best. The other option would be the blaster one. So you'd have your dual wield in one hand and blaster on the other one. This one gives you a lot of versatility in range. It's not hard to switch back and forth between them pretty effectively. One of the things you'll find yourself doing a lot using the dual wielding is, like I said, backing out of the attack range of enemies, so you don't have to sit there and static block. And if you're going to be doing that, quickly switching over to your blaster and firing off a couple blaster rounds can oftentimes be very, very effective at range then. And so this one allows you to, as well as that, it also allows you to thin out enemies from a distance, get a couple charge shots, maybe take out some of the weaker opponents, so you can focus more heavily on the stronger ones, and you're less likely to take too much damage to be effective that way. So it's great for retreat and fire if you get on the defensive, which is the one weakness of the dual wield stance. So that's why, like I said, either the double bladed one, which is my personal preference, or the blaster works really well with the dual wield stance. As far as perks that go really well with dual wielding, we have some obvious ones. The first one being fortitude. This one gives you an increase to lightsaber damage, but a decrease, or it makes you take more damage from enemies. So the reason I like this one for this build specifically, but in general, is because A, you notice more of a damage increase to your lightsabers than what you take. So it's not even. It's not like it's ×2 for both. I notice a significant increase to damage output, but not a significant increase to damage that you take. So it's one-sided. Plus, anytime where you're doing something where you do a lot of attacks rapidly, whether that's dual wielding or double-bladed lightsabers, it's good to have perks like this one that increase lightsaber damage, because the attacks themselves are lower damage than, say, a crossguard stance attack would be, but you're doing them much quicker. So if you can increase that damage per hit, it's going to compound that effect. So fortitude is definitely one that I recommend for dual wielding. Dexterity is another one. It increases your lightsaber throw damage. I find myself throwing lightsabers a lot with the dual wield stance, and also double bladed, and since I pair them together for this one, dexterity is very, very effective. Then shatter is one that I also strongly recommend. This one gives you an increased block meter damage, so if enemies are blocking you and you're rapidly hitting them, this one makes it so that you wear down their block meter quicker. This one's great because one of the strengths of dual wielding is how quickly you can take down their stamina and quickly finish enemies that way. So if you can increase that, it makes it even more effective. The final one is precision. So this one, it says parry timing is shorter, but Cal deals more stamina damage to enemies when he parries. So this one can be tough. If you're bad at parrying or you're really bad at timing, then this one's probably not great for you. I'm playing on Grandmaster difficulty, and so if you do this one, it makes your parry timer almost nothing. But if you have good timing and you're able to do it, it makes it super effective. So this one, like I said, is totally dependent on how good you are at parrying or possibly what difficulty you're playing on. Because even if you're not very good at parrying or timing, if you're playing on the lowest difficulty, you still have plenty of time to parry. So precision is very effective, and like I said, the duality of this stance that makes it so effective is your rapid strikes that take down stamina quickly and the ease and the ability to parry very effectively. So that's why I think precision pairs really well with the dual wielding stance. And that's all there is to say about the stance, really. There's nothing more to talk about. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful, or at the very least entertaining, but that's all for today. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.